What's happening, Hardscapers? Today we're building a tiered retaining wall. Let's get into this. Our client has a problem here and we're here to fix it. They have this sloped back of their yard that they haven't been able to grow anything. Grass doesn't grow, and sometimes they get runoff from their neighbors up top there. So we're here to address this with a tiered retaining wall in this situation. Give them a little bit of aesthetic appeal to the back of the yard, as well as some planting space for some vegetables. So let's get started and how we're going to go about this. I don't run an excavator often, so if you have any tips as to what I'm doing here, leave it all in the comment section below. That'll definitely help me. So when planning a tiered retaining wall, there's a few things we need to consider. One is, how do we figure out how deep we're going for our trenches, both for our lower wall as well as our upper wall here, and how big that bench cut into this slope should be. We also need to consider whether or not we're going to build this as two independent walls or as a single mass wall. Now, the rule of thumb, and depending a lot on the surcharge that is up here, any house or parking lot up top here is going to add more surcharge or force against the wall, pushing it forward more. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. Up here is just another garden for our neighbors in the back here, so not a lot of surcharge coming against the wall. Rule of thumb for tiered retaining walls is that as long as the bottom retaining wall is the same height or higher than the second tier, the distance from the face of the wall to the face of the wall should be double the height of the bottom wall. So that's what we did here. Otherwise, you're building essentially a single retaining wall and building them together as per engineered drawings. Now, to know exactly how far we're digging down, we would know that this is our final grade. We would use our high precision altimeter or rotary laser and zero it here, and then go down 6 to 8 inches for the base, an inch for the HPB, and 6 inches for the actual buried course of the wall. And that is anywhere from 12 to 15 inches where we want to be bottom of our trench and all along here. Now, when it comes to excavating, we've excavated, we've cleaned everything up, made sure our measurements are correct, and then we're compacting with our reversible plate compactor. Now, we've got some really nice sandy soil here, so we will add some of our 3/4 inch into that soil and also compact it. And then we're wrapping this with a non-woven geotextile, so it's going to come up the face of the wall and then return to the wall, so that when we put the soil back on top of this to get our buried course, to get our final grade, it's not going to go into that open graded material. And then it's going to go down through the trench and back up. And in this case, we're gonna have another wall here for this tiered, so it's gonna go through and then back up, and then it's going to return on top of the wall. So our base course is in here. Essentially what we do is we set up our string line to get a nice straight line there. So we will set this up, get it nice and level there, and then measure. We wanna be parallel with this fence line. So we'll measure from the fence to this 8-foot level, set a pin, and then do the same, matching the same measurement at the end there. That gives us a nice parallel line to the fence. So our excavation is a minimum of 6 inches to a max of 8 inches of open graded base, 3/4 inch clean stone, angular crushed, plus an inch of HPB, and then a buried course of 6 inches for the actual retaining wall product. So there's a little bit of work to get our exact level, what we're going for this. And what we do is we use our altimeter, and I will place it on top of where I'm expecting my base to be. And then we want to be at the top of that board there for the final height. So from the top of base, which is the top of HPB, to the top of board there was 2 feet 10 inches or 34 inches total. And sorry, that does include our 6 inches of buried course. So that's 17 inches between our two walls. So I know where to exactly set my screed bar when I screed out this HPB for this wall to get it nice and level. The HPB really helps us get nice and level. We do have to use our dead blow hammer to pound them down just to get it perfect, but the HPB really speeds up that process as opposed to using the 3/4 inch crush to fine tune everything. Smaller aggregate that is also clean, doesn't have fines in it, really helps on top of that, just like we would install an open graded base for any patio. We go 6 inches over extension beyond the face of the wall and 12 inches behind the wall. And we had to clean up because we did get some rain, so we do have a little bit less than 12 inches in some area just because it washed under our geotextile there, so we'll clean that up. And we've got our drainage pipe over there, so that will be at the back of this trench going along. And now this will be a 2-tiered wall, so we also have another shelf in behind this wall. We will start to build up this wall. It's only going to be 17 inches more above grade, so the 6 inches will be completely buried with that swale coming up to it, and then we'll have 17 inches more, so we'll have another 2 courses of 6 inch plus a 3-inch layer, and then plus our 2-inch cap on top. And behind the wall, with this tiered wall, we will have the same, another 17 inches, and we'll have a garden area in behind both of them here. And when we're building this up, our next quarter piece is going to be going not this way, but into the back here, because we'll have 2 returns on either side. So this one will be a corner piece going this way, and that'll give us our staggered, because we want to be at least 1/3 of a stone staggered when we start building out this retaining wall. Now, when I'm setting this second tier, what I'm doing is, because we've split the difference from grade to final height there in half to get both heights of walls, which is 17 inches above grade and then another 17 inches above grade for the next one, we can then tie the wall into one another. So essentially this return back to the fence, the second wall will actually tie into this return, and that'll give strength in our corners there, as well as now we can set our screed pipe for this screeded layer for our wall to the height of this wall unit. And that's going to allow for 6 inches of buried course behind this wall, as well as give us our 17 inches above grade to our final height there. To begin the next course, we go ahead and backfill the retaining wall with our 3/4 clear once again, and then we're getting ready to start screeding, much like we did with the HPB for the lower course. Once again, setting our screed bores with our high precision altimeter and getting our level just right. And since we're tying into the lower retaining wall, we already have that level already set. And then we go ahead and level out our retaining wall block, our buried course, with that dead blow hammer, getting that dialed in, and then we can easily build up this second tier, get our drainage pipe in behind it. And the final step is getting those caps cut in nicely in place and adhering them when finished. Now, we do have this all from start to finish uncut on our I Am a Hardscaper Uncut channel. The link will be in the description below. If you missed any of these steps, or if you want greater detail, that is our channel for uncut videos from start to finish there. We've got our wall drains 1, 2, so there is a pipe coming along the wall and then a T into that one, which then same thing at the bottom here. Now, usually these drains would protrude about 6 inches out to make sure that that water gets away from that extension, that base extension. I'm not too worried about this here. It's a nice sandy subsoil along with 3/4 clean that we've got everywhere, with a nice basin here to collect that water. Water will follow the path of least resistance, so we're expecting it to eventually end up down there. So then behind the wall, we do have a foot of clear stone, so 1 foot. And then in front of this wall, we have 6 inches extension for our base. So that doesn't leave a lot of depth for this tiered wall, the bottom tier. So we have about 8 inches to 12 inches of soil in this one. But then this one, we don't have a wall up here that we need to support. So it's 12 inches of clear stone. And then they got tons of garden room in behind, but still have that 8 to 12 inches of garden bed here. Try to make the place look as good as new. We do put in our contracts that we will seed in topsoil wherever we cause damage. There wasn't a lot of damage here, but I do like to even though we had the wheelbarrow going up and down, still top dress, throw some seed down, and then here along here, we put one row of sod there and resodded this area here. One more small detail thing that we do is when we're figuring out our run for our caps, we are usually left with a one cut at the end. And if you were to make that cut, you would have one small piece and then all big pieces all the way down to the end. What we do is we find out our spacing, figure out that final cut, what that's going to be, and we divide it between two pieces. So this was 40.5 inches that we cut one piece, and then the same 40.5 inches on that other piece as well. That gives us two equal cuts, and because it's only 7.5 inches different than the 48-inch piece, it works out to be symmetrical, as well as you barely even notice that you actually have a smaller piece on either end here. And we did come back, so I did chisel this one, and it took a good indent out of it. They're not this cap exactly, but the one that I put in my truck had a good indent, so we actually came back, ordered a new cap, and put that one in here to get that replaced. And that is the end of the two-tier retaining wall. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll respond to everybody. Like this video, you found it helpful for whatever reason, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more hardscaping content like this. Thank you so much for watching.